Hello, everyone. Welcome out. This is Orion Baseball. I am Ryan, and it is good to be here. This is our very first video on the channel, so if you enjoy this, please subscribe, please like, please comment, all that good stuff. And we're going to be trying to do a lot of different kinds of videos coming up here soon, but this is the very first one. I really wanted to do this first, and what it is going through my 20 years of watching baseball. I've been watching baseball for a very long time. And kind of going through the narratives that I have in my head pertaining to all the different teams and how they've evolved over time and where they presently are. So it's going to be looking at teams, how competitive they are, how they're made up, and ranking them in a way that makes sense to me as to how much I want to see them succeed right now. Not necessarily how much I like them, not how much I want to see them fail, but where I think they are and what merits they have at the moment. And that's not to say that I don't like each team, because there's not a team that I just despise in Major League Baseball. But there are teams that I have preconceived notions about right now. And I think everyone is the same way. Everyone that's watched baseball has grown up watching a certain team, has grown up disliking certain teams, or gone through phases where they have. And I think that's an important narrative to take into account when you are watching a professional sport. And it's something that's not talked about that often. So this seemed like a unique way to start off this channel, and I hope you're in for a ride. This is going to be a fairly long video. They're not all going to be like this unless you like them, in which case we can make more. There's always more. So, yeah, hang tight. All right, let's go ahead and get this started. So, shout out Tier Maker for making tiers for me. We're going to start with a fun one, the Baltimore Orioles. And I think there's a lot to really like here. I think that is fully a bandwagon team. I think you're crazy if you don't want to see this team succeed right now, even though the management has made it real difficult to watch for quite a few years. Now, there's a couple of reasons that I really enjoy this team. Mancini and Rushman are obviously great choices, but the people I really like watching are guys like Jorge Mateo, who's currently leading the American League in stolen bases, and somehow has 2 WAR, even though he has a 260 on base percentage. He's just a scrappy guy, plays with a lot of heart, and he's really fun to watch. And the other big thing about this, the narrative that I really like watching this team, is Chris Holt, who is their pitching coach, who worked with the Houston Astros before this, and then was brought over and became the Orioles pitching coach at the beginning of last year, and has since been put in charge of directing both the major and minor league pitching staffs. So he's overseeing everything right now, and he's the one that helped really develop John Means. So we're seeing him with Aiken and Kramer and all these guys. And I think this team's going to be real scary, if not going down the stretch here, then certainly next year. It'd be a shame to see Mancini get traded at this deadline, but also it seems like a pretty shrewd move given the amount of talent they have, and given that Mancini is getting a little up there in age. But guys like, Santander and Mullins, you hope to see all of them stick around for a while and be like a real core, because this is just such a fun energy that's on this team right now. And so, yeah, they're one of my high points out here for sure. Now, I think y'all see what's next, and that is the Angels. And I feel like even Angels fans would put this team in why are you like this? Because they're so frustrating to watch. It's just such a headache at times, seriously. And what really gets me about them, is that for years they've had Trout just destroying everything. And everyone's just been like, well, if the Angels would just develop pitching, if the Angels would just sign some pitchers, maybe Trout could actually win something. Well, guess what? They did. They got Detmers. They got Sandoval. They got Thor, all just pitching out of their minds. And they have Ohtani. But it was as soon as that happened, they were just like, oh, let's just not have a actual major league infield. And truly what I would like to see from them. I think last year we all saw the Braves have to completely revamp an outfield. They had to go get Duvall and Soler and Peterson and Rosario, and that worked out for them. They had all these guys come in It reinvigorated the team. It reinvigorated those guys' careers in a lot of ways. The Angels could go do that with their infield. And, they're pretty far out of this race right now, but so were the Braves last year, and they ended up winning the World Series. So I don't understand why they don't go out, go get C.J. Cron, go get Tony Kemp, go get Mike Moustakas. Like, there's a lot of quiet names out there that could really help this team and fill it out to where you just have at least, replacement level players and give some hope to guys like Ohtani and Trout. And it's just so frustrating because this is obviously assuming that the front office has the same vision that I do, and I don't think they do. But God, this is a hard team to watch. Now, Phillies. It's, I don't have strong feelings about these guys, and this might ruffle some feathers, and I'm sorry about that. But when I look at guys like JT Realmuto and Didi Gregorius and Bryce Harper and Wheeler, I don't picture Philadelphia Phillies. They have yet to earn their stripes, so to speak, to me. And I want to see this team gel and really have some significant games and really just come through. And I think they need a hot streak. I think it really just is see this team win 12 games in a row, and they're going to completely change their identity. And it's just a shame that people keep getting hurt. And it's just been inconsistent, to say the least, on top of, just watching that defense. I just have a hard time watching that defense. It's rough. It's really rough, but I can't just dismiss them entirely because this is the team with the longest drought in the National League. I don't want to see them just crash and burn, even if I don't like how the team is set up in its current iteration. You want to see them be competitive, definitely. Plus, there's a lot of likable guys on that team. And I think I'll leave that one there. And we got the Red Sox. And, I get it. I have a lot of Red Sox friends that are huge Red Sox fans. And I can't blame them. It's a fun team to watch. Everything about it, the culture, the energy is great. But there have been a lot of Red Sox World Series wins in the last 15 years, And that kind of jades me against them, I think. And, this is a very top-heavy team. I think one of my favorite Red Sox is Verdugo, and he's been scuffling lately, which has made me tune in a little less than I would otherwise. But all in all, it's hard. It's hard. And, Bogarts and Devers are obviously these superheroes on this team. But there's just a lot of holes. And I think that it's a team that really needs to reassess where they're at right now and try and revamp and maybe get a little creative with their roster. Speaking of getting creative with their roster, my God. This is just rough. I watch more National League East games than any other division, and it really is just the game of who can beat up on the Nationals the most right now. Even with, what if they actually trade Soto at the deadline this year? How is that going to look? This is going to be, they have to trade Josh Bell. So you're going to have Keibert Ruiz and friends. That's going to be it. And it's going to be really hard to watch for a couple of years. And, it's a shame what happened with Strasburg. It's a shame what happened with Corbin. It's been a lot of bad luck and a lot of interesting decisions made by the front office that makes it really hard to support where this team is going right now. And I'm sure they're going to draft really well for the next couple of years, and it's going to end up looking great. But right now, it's hard to give them any sort of support. It's just they're rough up, and that's what it comes down to. Now, the Diamondbacks, on the other hand, I think they're a fine team. I think they have a lot of potential. I think their rotation is really underappreciated as it stands right now. But there's just not really that many spark plugs in this lineup. Rojas and Marte are fun to watch. And, they have a couple other guys like Walker that are, doing their thing. But they're just missing. They need a big piece. I hope Alek Thomas is that. I hope he really comes out and just takes this team over. But they need backup in order to keep this team afloat as far as a distinctive personality goes. Mad Bum is Mad Bum, and I want to see this team succeed. I want to be on the Diamondbacks bandwagon, but I can't see myself doing it right now. Now the Rays, I'm always on the Rays bandwagon, and I think it's because I started watching baseball in the early 2000s when this was a horrible team. And, Devil Rays. And I got to watch guys like Carl Crawford and David Price come up, and I got to watch a team that started out as a punchline slowly, very slowly become competitive. And I think there's something to be said for that. I think, at least for me, it was significant, and I had emotional investment in this team. So it was cool to watch. And as it stands right now, they have this very unique way of playing baseball, and I think it's, if not frustrating at times, it's very inventive and different and effective. So, I would love to see them in this current iteration win a World Series. Whether we're going to or not, that's a different question. But there's a lot of fun guys on this team, Brett Phillips, Choi, guys like that, just a blast. And they're just so good at developing that you just have all these wild dudes coming out of this team, and they get dispersed around the league, and they just kind of turn into these hired gun types for the most part. They're really bit by injuries right now, so I have a hard time saying I'm on any sort of bandwagon just because, should I put them in ride or die? No, they're not there. They're not quite there. But, I would like to see them right the ship this year. I don't think they're going to, at the rate they are. They just lost KK for the year. That sucks. But we'll see. We'll see what happens with them. Now the Marlins, I want to be, so bad I want to be on this Marlins bandwagon, but I do not trust the Derek Jeter-less front office to give me a good reason to. I want to see them go after a bat or two. They do not have Nick Castellanos. That is why Jeter left, it would seem, and that's frustrating. But right now they have, Aguilar and Soler in the middle of that lineup, and they just need another piece. And this is a really good rotation they have going right now with Lopez and Alcantara. And I just want to see them really reinforce that and give the Phillies a run for their money. I would love that more than anything, but I just don't think it's going to happen. And that's just the history of the Marlins. But if they get hot, if somehow, some way, they get that weird Marlins magic again, then I think this is a team that I could move up and really just hop on that bandwagon real quick. And just to clarify, I like the term bandwagon. I think it's funny just because it's this team's winning, so now I like them. But in reality, it's investment in a team because you enjoy the narrative around them and you're paying attention to them because they're doing exciting things. So that's what's happening. That's what's happening with the Orioles right now. I didn't watch the Orioles last year. Why would I? It wasn't fun. I didn't watch them because they were the Orioles, I should say. It was not an enjoyable time. But as they are now, it's great. The Marlins have the potential to be that way too. Definitely. Now the Giants, I'm pretty indifferent to them right now. I think that is a older roster they have going. I think it's really cool that they keep reviving these careers of people, like having Alex Wood and Desclafani and Jacob Junis in the same rotation is just crazy to me. Just these guys that, really had one issue or another somewhere, whether it was an injury, whether it was inconsistency, whatever it was, they've just righted the ship. And I really like Gabe Kapler as a manager. I think he took the criticism he got in Philadelphia very strongly, or maybe Philadelphia was just impatient with him. But either way, he's proven that he's one of the most influential managers in the game right now. I think he has one of the larger effects on the game of Major League Baseball, just the way that he manages or the way that the front office tells him to manage, depending what you believe. But this team without Posey, I think, has really taken a hit. I think that there's a void in leadership, even with Longo and Crawford there. At least that's my perception. I'm not a full-time Giants fan, but I think it's hard to be last year was really cool, but I think it's hard to be a huge Giants fan just because I still have recent memories of them heavily succeeding. Really just, whooping the competition 3 out of 5 years. So I think that does play a role. Ooh. Cardinals. See, for a long time, I could not with the Cardinals. They've had, I think, what I call Cardinal devil magic. Because there are some iconic moments in Cardinals history that probably shouldn't have happened, but somehow they got away with them. And somehow they succeeded. And I'm also sad because the Rangers deserved a World Series, and now they're so far away from one again. So, I mean, it's really just because of the competence of the front office that I really have a hard time rooting for the Cardinals. And it's just a never-ending supply of solid outfielders, of good pitchers that just come up and just do their thing. Like, it's unbelievable how successful they are. So, respect to them. It's cool seeing like this throwback team of Waino and Yachty and Pujols all just, being very competitive. Like, I think this is a good team that has a legitimate shot of going deep in the postseason. But whether I'll be rooting for them, I don't know about that. Like, we'll see. Like, there's a lot of really cool, just like generational talents on this team with those guys, and then Goldie and Arenado. Like, that's a lot of like big personalities. That would be a real fun team to see in the World Series. We'll just have to see when we get there. We'll have to see what's going on in baseball as to how I feel about that. Now the Mets. Ooh, that's a tough one. I think we'll understand in a little bit why I'm not on the Mets train. And I get it. I think they're a fun team to watch. You want to see them succeed. And there's just this preconceived notion about this, Mets are doing Mets things again. And if there was a year where they're going to prove that wrong, it's absolutely this year. So, yeah, go on, Mets. Make me eat my hat. Like, it's cool. Like, that's fine. I wouldn't hate it. But I don't really see much fun in that. And I think that's based off of my history of watching baseball. That said, Lindor is awesome. Their rotation is stupid good. It terrifies me. I don't really want to involve myself with it because I think that if they go on a real run, it's not even going to be fun. They're a team that could, 4-0 the World Series. And I'm here for good baseball. And I don't really want to see that. I don't like teams that throw money around all that much. And they're not there yet. They're not like, 2003 New York Yankees level of throwing money around. But God help me if they get Contreras from the Cubs. That is going to be a scary team, and that is going to anchor that rotation down even more with having such a amazing catcher back there. Like, let's all hold our breath on that one, unless you're a Mets fan. I mean, okay. Athletics, I don't think I need to really explain this. Like, why are you like this? Why? They have one guy with an OPS over 700 right now. It's Sean Murphy. They're gonna trade him. They have no reason not to trade him. They have 2 solid catchers coming up through the minors right now. And God, this team is hard to watch. They had a good core. And it was time, I guess. And it just continually is that way. It's a team with a wonderful history. It's a team that you want to see succeed. I can't even spend time on this because their offense is just too rough right now. It's frustrating for sure. Now the Brewers. I mean, here's the thing: is I have a thing for teams that have not won a World Series. You can see them right next to the Rays. I think every team deserves to have one of those rings, and I would love for that just to be even across the board. The Brewers are real underdogs at this point. Like, every time they get close, and it's just like, and then they just tear these teams down. And right now, Yelich is not particularly being Yelich. We have Adames doing pretty well, and we have that absurd rotation, which is so fun to watch, on top of a very uncharacteristic Hater. And I think that's a really good storyline to watch this season. This is pure speculation, but I recall watching that home run that Freeman hit against Hader in the playoffs last year, and I wonder how much that has affected him. And I say that because year before last, Will Smith hit a home run off of Will Smith. It was an inside fastball. And the next year, the Braves playoff run, Will Smith was not good until the playoffs. And one of the reasons was he was refusing to comfortably throw that inside fastball. And it was hard to watch because he couldn't get people off the plate. And it so clearly got in his head because it was such a big moment. And I'm wondering if that's what's going on with Hader right now. But he's such a good pitcher. I have no doubt that he's going to get over it. But his numbers just aren't what they're supposed to be. Unfortunately, they got Devin Williams right there. This is a pretty complete team. I think it would be great to see them go out and get a bat. I think it would be cool to see them make a deep postseason run. I don't think they're a favorite to right now, which might be why I'm kind of bandwagoning them. And we got the Pirates. They just traded away Vogelbach, which was fun to watch, but I love the Pirates. I just do. I love the energy. I love that we got O'Neal Cruz up right now. And it's really a bummer to see Jack Sawinski go down. I was like, y'all aren't going anywhere. Let them learn at the major league level. But Pirates historically very cautious with their prospects, so making him ride the bus up and down. He can improve himself in the minor leagues before he can come back up. I really don't. I like watching this team. I always have. I think they've probably been the team that has been the least competitive over the course of my lifetime. And that makes me really want them to win. And I love the uniforms. I love the ballpark. Andrew McCutchen, probably top 5 player of all time for me. And yeah, just the culture. I think baseball is better with an exciting Pirates team. And maybe that is because, in part, they are a low payroll team. And it's cool watching those be competitive in creative ways. I think that could be a large portion of it. Now, I hope we're all rooting for the Mariners to get to the playoffs this year. I'm going to put you right here. These are kind of tiered. These are kind of in order. Not particularly, but roughly. Let's call it roughly. The Mariners are a really fun team right now. They have this very consistent layer of rotation guys that are just, slightly above average. And it's just kind of enough. And it's a team with a lot of excitement coming up through it. Obviously, J-Rod is the next big thing, it seems, right now. And I hope that Winker turns it on. I think that's going to be a big game changer for them if they can get him going. I don't think they're going to be taking down the Astros, but I would love to see them sneak into the playoffs and really just, if not get deep in, then get some of these younger guys some experience to where next time they come around, they're going to know what to do. They're going to be like, oh yeah, I've been here before, and they'll be able to make a deeper postseason run. But for now, God, just end that horrible streak. It's really rough, and I love that they're trying. I love that you can tell they can taste it. Really, I think they can. It's great. Okay, we got the White Sox, and there's one person that keeps me from enjoying this team, and he's not a player. I'll say that. I really get frustrated watching La Russa. I don't like the way he runs a baseball team, on a personal level. I think it's frustrating. I think it doesn't gel with the players. And I'm still salty about the whole controversy with Yerman Mercedes and how he, didn't have his back. I think that's just indicative of a bad clubhouse chemistry. There's some really great guys on this team. There's some really fun guys to watch. And a lot of people are, expecting the White Sox to run away with the division this year. I was not of that mind, which I know, this is my first video, so it's hard for me to back that up. But I promise I was not of that mind. And that's because we haven't had a season where we've had Jimenez and Robert do their things on top of, Cease, Kopech, Abreu, Anderson. All those guys have never been on a stretch where they're all just killing it at once for any extended period of time. And until we see that can happen, this is a great hypothetical team. But that only gets you so far, you know? I wouldn't mind seeing this team like really get it together. I think they have so much potential, just so much. And I think a lot of it is wasted because they have this older manager and just kind of old school front office that is still trying to figure out what exactly they want to do. On top of having just some pretty poor luck and a lot of regression like coming through their team right now. So it's a lot of issues, and it's rough. It's rough to watch, and I'm sure it's really frustrating for White Sox fans as well. And we got the Yankees, and for a long time, Yankees would have been like, you know, I mean, I didn't grow up a Yankees fan, and I think we're all told we don't want to see the Yankees succeed. It's common knowledge within like the baseball community outside of New York, I think. But I like how this team is set up. Nestor might be my favorite pitcher in baseball right now. He's so fun to watch. They aren't throwing money at people. Like, they got a big old contract in Garrett Cole, and they traded for Giancarlo. But this is a team that is made up of a lot of different parts. It's not a early 2000s Yankees team. It really, they've put a lot of work into it, and I think that's deserving. I think it helps that they haven't really done much in over 10 years, but I think it's a cool team. I think that they're really exciting. Matt Carpenter is such a cool story. Who doesn't want to see him mashing in the postseason? This is probably my favorite Yankees team ever, honestly, and I'm happy to see them doing as well as they are at the moment. Cubs, I'm going to put these here. I'm just going to leave these here. It's a hard situation that they're in right now. I think that I really like the Stroman signing. I think that was cool. I think that gave fans something to come out for. But it's hard to watch when this team that had this like really strong core, like they had to make a business decision. Do we want to keep these guys together for their whole lives, for their whole careers, or do we want to, try and do something else? And they chose to do something else. Contreras is most likely getting traded. And otherwise, you have Hayward and Hendricks, and that's about the remainder of the core. But they have like a decent offense this year. I don't know if y'all paid attention. They also have a decent pitching staff. Like, this team is going to rebound real quick. And I think it's pretty savvy to go ahead and trade some of the older fellas and continue doing that. I think in the near future, we're going to see a lot more teams sign these mid-tier free agents, see them do pretty well, and then flip them at the deadline, or at least, take offers and see what's out there. I like what they're doing. I'm just going to say at this moment, it's hard to watch just because it makes me kind of sad just to see these guys. I've watched Rizzo in a Cubs uniform for 10 years, and I'm like, oh, he's not there. Okay. It's a bummer, but it's also like, what does that mean? What does that mean, really? So I'm having a philosophical debate with my opinions on the Chicago Cubs right now, I guess. There's nothing against the Cubs. Astros. I'm pretty lukewarm on them right now. It's not the same team that people associate them with. And it's Bregman and Altuve and a bunch of new guys. And most of the new guys are really great. Tucker and Alvarez are anchors. Urquidy and Valdez are anchors. And they just keep bringing more guys up. Like in the playoffs last year, I really liked watching Jose Siri. Like, I think that guy, if he figures it out, he's going to be really exciting to watch. And then we have it seems like a revolving door of dudes that they're able to bring up. They just have an excellent development system right now, and they're not going anywhere. And once again, like, I really like watching guys play their full careers in one uniform. Don't know why. It makes me happy to see. So, Tuve, I mean, you can say what you want about him, but he's like a mascot. He's like a mascot for the Astros. And I think that's endearing in its own way. So I'll let them be. They're poised to once again be a favorite in the playoffs. I hope to see another Yankees-Astros rendition. I think that's always really fun baseball. Yeah, we'll see what happens. Now, the Guardians, once again, I hope they buy. Right, the Twins and White Sox, they're fine teams, but neither of them are going to do anything crazy unless they buy. So it really is, like, I think more than any other division, the AL Central is reliant on what people do at the trade deadline. And obviously we want to see the most competitive division. And Indians have the depth in their rotation to go on a run. And I think they could just use a couple more bats. Like, really, like, go see them get CJ Cron or someone like that. They can really just, like, knock a couple more out for them. And I think they could be a really competitive team. But as they stand, I don't know if they're going to do that. So, I mean, a lot of these, they could change. It's entirely possible that my opinions on these teams will change over the course of the next few weeks. One that won't is probably the Braves, because that is who I grew up watching. That is my team. I got to watch them win the World Series last year, and it was outstanding. I was in disbelief. This is probably the least invested I've been in the Braves, or at least at the beginning of the season, it was the least invested I've been in the Braves since I started watching baseball. And I think part of it was, well, I got to see them win a World Series. This is what I wanted. And I've started expanding my interest into other teams a lot more since then. But they're pulling me back in because they got all these cool guys. They got Strider coming up. They got Harris coming up. They got Contreras, who's just an all-star. He just started the all-star game. Like, that's such an influx of young talent on this team, as well as really changing around the leadership by switching out Freeman for Olsen. So, I mean, it feels like a different team than the one that won the World Series, while still being very, very exciting. You know, I mean, they're always my guys, but I've really enjoyed getting to distribute my interest around the league instead of, you know, focusing on a singular team. It's been really great. Now that you know that, I feel like I can do this. And that is specifically because I think the Braves and Dodgers have the best rivalry in baseball right now. That is my hot take, and I will stand by it, and I want to see them in the playoffs. It's going to raise my blood pressure, and it's going to be the most fun in the world. I want to see Tyler Matzik versus Freddie Freeman. I want to see these matchups because it's been so fun to watch. Even the 2 years before last, when the Braves were losing these playoff series to the Dodgers, it was incredible baseball, and at the time, you know, that hurts to watch, but looking back at it, it's like, oh my God, like, that's incredible. It's incredible. I think it's not going anywhere anytime soon. Both these teams have really solid cores. And for that reason, and the reason that the Dodgers spend infinite amounts of money, I just have a hard time rooting for them. So take that as you will. Take that as you will. Once again, there's a lot of players on the team that I like. I'll always, you know, see Freddie Freeman as one of the best players of this generation, as well as Trey Turner. Both awesome. I hate how good Will Smith is. I truly do. I want him on the Braves. Like, that's how much I dislike him, as I want him on the Braves. Yeah, we'll leave that there, because I could go on about the Dodgers for a long time. I have seen a lot of them. Now the Padres, one of those teams, hasn't won a World Series, so here I am, like, all right, Padres, let's go, let's do it. Go trade for Juan Soto. You can do it. I believe in you. And I don't know if y'all have heard that, but a lot of people are saying that's Juan Soto's most likely destination. They got guys like, I don't know how much they want to trade CJ or Mackenzie Gore. You know, they have the depth to do it. Their rotation is fun. And obviously you want to see Tatis out there, but even without him, this is a competitive team, and it's a sneaky good offense, I think, is what it really comes down to. Like, Nomar Mazara has somehow finally figured it out after a decade, and Jurickson Profar finally figured it out after a decade. Like, it's a cool group of players that you really can't help but enjoy watching. Yeah, I hope to see them continue the success, get that wild card spot, and it would be awesome to see Snell and Musgrove and Darvish just lead a team into the playoffs. I would not hate that in the least. The Royals, God, like, I feel bad even putting them here, but it's just like, what are y'all doing? I think Bobby Witt, I'm excited to see what he does. I think this is a team that will hopefully improve in the near future, but, like, damn, it's been so long. Like, they had those I think they're in competition with the Pirates for the team that I've seen be competitive for the smallest window over the course of my time watching baseball. And I can't get quite as excited about them. And I think a lot of that has to do with, outside of Witt, not seeing a lot of guys that really sparked my interest. I hope that changes soon. But I just really have a hard time having any strong feelings about them at the moment. Now, the Rangers are interesting. Where do you put those Rangers? I can't really decide, so they're just going to go right over here. I think that this is a wild way to run a business, is to just throw $500 million at two players, but I think it's interesting. I think that their rotation is better than you might think. Ooh, I cannot wait to see Rocker and Leiter up in this rotation. So really, in like a year, when those two guys are up, like they went to college together, they're like buds. Like, that's cool. I want to see that. And I want to see them sign a couple more bats. Like, I'm here for it. I don't think it's quite their window, but I think we're getting real close. And I think this is going to be a very cool team to watch when we get there. Now, the Tigers, this is a legitimate question. More so than these others, I have a legitimate question of why are you like this? Because this team is just, oof. I had hopes for them this year. Part of the reason that I wasn't so high on the White Sox was I was like, well, the Twins had one bad year. Like, they could always rebound, but the other one was the Tigers are sneaky. Like, there's a lot of really good young talent on that Detroit team, and none of it has panned out this year. Candelario has struggled. A lot of their young pitchers, like Manning and Mize, have been injured. Like, it's just been a hard team to watch, and I feel for you. I feel for you, Detroit. Like, that's tough. And I hope they right the ship. I don't think it's going to be this year, though. I think they're going to have to look towards the future. And I think a sneaky good trade deadline candidate is Robbie Grossman, who has bad stats, unless you look at his splits versus lefties, in which case they are right on par with his lefty mashing career. The Blue Jays, yeah. I think it's a cool team. I think it's rad that the entire country is rooting for them right now. And I think what they went through last year must have been awful, having to go between 3 primary stadiums. And I think more so than being like really rooting for this team, I am expecting them to go on a crazy second half run. It's nice to see Biggio finally figuring it out a little bit. And then you have, of course, the big boppers. Like, this is a very, very deep lineup, like all the way around. I think the rotation is still figuring it out a little bit. If they got Luis Castillo, this is going to be a dangerous team. I think one way or another, this is a dangerous team. If they get hot going into the playoffs, they have big potential. Now, the Twins, yeah. Sure, why not? I would like to see them do something. It's frustrating watching them every year get kind of kicked out of the playoffs. Like, immediately, it's like, oh yeah, you're like automatically disqualified from the playoffs. That's how it feels. I think Correa and Buxton is such an exciting 1-2 punch in this lineup. And it was fun, especially at the beginning of the year, watching all these, kind of journeyman starters just show up there and do their thing. I think this is a really exciting team, and I think Jorge Polanco also, very underappreciated player, incredible plate discipline, and just, all the way around, I think it's a very balanced team. I don't think it's a particularly high-level team. I don't think they really have anything on par with the Dodgers or the Yankees, but I think they have potential if they decide to buy. Like, I'm sticking with that for that AL Central. Rockies. Yeah, what are you doing? Now, here's my thing with the Rockies is I think hasn't been said enough that over the last 5 years or so, they've had Gray and Marquez and Freeland and revolving door of other guys in their rotation that have actually been very serviceable. I think the most consistent rotation core in Rockies history. And it seems as soon as it showed up, their offense just went anemic and really stopped being as frightening as it was. And I don't know if they adjusted the humidor or they adjusted the walls in Coors Field, or if that has to do with the changing of the baseballs. Like, I don't know what's going on there. It's frustrating that they like let John Gray go and didn't take advantage of the fact that they had developed all these excellent pitchers. And they didn't get enough credit at the time either, but then went ahead and traded Arenado and signed Bryant, which I think is a very interesting move because they got some decent talent for Arenado. I hope Gomber rebounds and does some decent work. And then they get their future star in Bryant. So, I mean, we'll see how that pans out. I don't think it's looking like the most shrewd move right now, but I think there's potential for it moving forward. But, I mean, it's also like you had a guy that you probably should have a statue of in, 10 years in front of Coors Field, and you traded him to the Cardinals. And it's just it's an interesting move, to say the least. And then finally, we've got the Reds. They had some bad luck this year, but, I think a lot of me putting them down in nope is not their fault. And what I mean by that is their owner came out and said some really inappropriate things about the fan base, proceeded to do a bit of a fire sale, and then the team went on that horrid losing streak. And as it stands, it's like, well, it felt very karmic, but also you feel for the players, man. They don't deserve that. Like, they definitely don't deserve that, particularly like Joey Votto. He's got a couple years left. You want to see him do something good with them, It's a hard situation they're in right now. And even guys like Hunter Green, it's like they're exciting to watch, but they're still real rough around the edges. And they're going to end up selling a bunch of pieces at this trade deadline, I think. So this team is that's already not doing too great is going to only get a little worse. So there you have it. This is my tier list on where I see each professional team as they currently stand in this at this 2022 in between All-Star Game and trade deadline era. Yeah, I would love to have some discussions about this. If you enjoy these kind of tier list videos, I'd like to make more, but I'm planning on doing a couple other things, doing a couple analyses of more specifics within Major League Baseball. So thank y'all for watching. Once again, like, subscribe, hit me up if you want. Be well.